apple is a classic fall flavor, and a classic apple pie has to be the most popular pick. My next guest says there's an art to the perfect apple pie, carefully calculated in each delicate layer. Baker Madison Reid has mastered that art, and proof is in the picture. That pie looks amazing. It's so good to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's apple pie, an all-American classic. How long would you say it took you, Madison, to perfect this recipe?
Yes, so I actually started playing with pie last September, so a year ago, and it took me about 3 months to really master the type of pie that I wanted to create. I read a few cooking baking pie books.
Yeah.
And kind of got all the best practices and played around with it.
You really went to school.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It starts with the apples themselves. What variety do you prefer?
So with apples, you don't want to just use one apple when you're doing an apple pie. It's best to have a variety of 2 or 3 different types so that you can pull into some sour, some sweet. For like a Golden Delicious, a Honey Crisp, a baker's apple is another great option. I got my apples for this pie from Taggies. I love getting local fruit, and they had their baker's apple and the Honey Crisp in season, so I grabbed both of those.
Should we be baking the apples before we put them into the pie?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. That was an emphatic yes.
Yes, okay. With the fruit pies, it's very good to bake before, not bake, sorry, you're gonna cook it over your stovetop.
Yeah.
It's going to absorb some of that moisture. Some of the liquid is going to evaporate, which makes your pie crust no longer soggy. And also it helps thicken the juices with your flour thickener, and just makes that just good aroma. When you're mixing that over the stove top, it just gets you ready for fall.
Okay, you mentioned the crust, and I want to spend a good majority of time on the crust because a good apple pie has a great crust.
It's all about the crust.
Teach us your ways.
Yes, so I prefer an all butter pie crust because it is the most flavorful. You can use shortening. Shortening is kind of like a foolproof pie crust where it doesn't shrink down too much in the oven because of the higher melting point. But with an all butter pie crust, it will shrink. Every crust will shrink. But if you have the coldest ingredients, the coldest butter, then it will shrink minimally and be amazing. Just like a croissant, how there's pockets throughout a croissant.
And flaky.
That's because the butter creates little pockets. So if you chop up your butter into tiny little squares, place it in your flour. You always want to use a kitchen scale.
Salted butter, unsalted butter?
Unsalted butter.
Unsalted.
The reason being is because every brand has a different amount of salt.
Oh.
So you could have way too much salt by just using the wrong brand.
Okay.
So you just have no idea how much salt.
You don't have control.
Yes, no control. So you would put a teaspoon of sugar, a teaspoon of salt. You want pure sea salt.
You're passionate about that point.
Yeah, I am. So I'm really into my whole blog is the chemistry of baking. And there are these tiny little tweaks that will make someone that feels like they're not a baker to being a champion baker.
What about sea salt puts us to that champion line?
Yeah, so sea salt is so much better than an iodinized salt that has extra minerals added to it. So it doesn't have a very robust flavor. If you use sea salt, it's just one ingredient, salt. Okay. And it's very robust.
I love when people geek out like this. And I'm soaking up everything you're telling us to do.
So when you're putting your cold water in, you want water with ice cubes in it. You want to make it as cold as possible. After you make your dough, you put these in, you break it up with your fingers into tiny little chunks. You're going to end up with a marbled crust.
Oh, you can see the butter.
You can see the marble in there.
Yeah.
That's what's going to make your little pockets, your flake, all throughout the pie dough.
Okay.
And then once you go over to put it into your pie dish, the best thing to do is to take your rolling pin.
Once you've rolled it out.
Roll it out bigger than your pie dish, and you can just roll it right in.
Look, she is a pro.
You can move it around.
Pro at work.
Okay, then you're gonna already have your apples baked. You put it in there.
And that will prevent the soggy crust.
Yeah, so I like to cook my apples and then let them cool.
Oh.
So that they're not going in hot, because hot creates steam, creates liquid, creates a soggy crust.
Look at you.
Yeah, so you'll cook them.
Yes.
And then you'll lay them out on a cookie sheet, let them cool completely, thicken, and then put them inside your.
And then bake it.
Yes, then you're gonna put it on here. And then once you're done, this is what your pie crust, your apple pie filling looks like
beautiful,
inside.
beautiful.
Then you'll grab your top layer and you just place it right on top. And to crimp, it's very simple. I like to just do the double finger push in. And you push back out.
Here's where the artistry comes in.
And then, I
noticed you chop those apples very small, very fine.
Yes, you want them bite size. You don't want them too
chunky.
Too big. Yeah. And then it's very simple to make that
Okay,
look.
beautiful.
And also, you never want to use the excess pie crust that you cut off because the butter's too processed. You've rolled it in.
Oh.
So I like pie scrap cookies.
Oh, cute.
Yes.
Yes, to decorate on top.
Or just to eat.
just
you
to snack
sprinkle
on.
some cinnamon and sugar,
Don't mind
and
if
then
I
you
do.
just have pie crust cookies.
Crust is the best part.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I know we've moved quickly, but you really have perfected the art of the apple
yes.
pie. You have a master class.
I do. On my website, I have The Art of Apple Pie, a beginner's masterclass, and it has broken up into 7 segments. It's supposed to bake along with you. You can bake with me in your kitchen. It's gonna walk you through every step, has the recipe, and yeah, there's printables. It's a great course. And in fact, I'm doing a coupon for your viewers.
Wonderful.
So if you go to my website and click on that course, you can use code STUDIO5 for 50% off.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Studio 5, access that code. We'll link you over to your website. Give it to us one more time.
It's Mrs. Maddie, so MRSMADI.com.
MrsMaddie.com. Clever. Cute. We'll link you over. Input the code, and you too can be an artist of apple pie, which this is the time of year we do want to
want to cut
get it
into
right.
it?
Can we please?
Of
And
course.
slice me up during commercial
Yes,
break. I will
yes.
never say no
Yes.
to apple pie in any form. It was great to have you.
You
Great to
too.
meet you. Thank you so much.